Welcome to the Stuff and Things Podcast. Your home for all stuff related to your favorite things in entertainment. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of the Stuff and Things podcast. I am Sam. Today we are talking the new HBO smash hit The Last of Us, airing in the UK on Sky Atlantic. Joining me to discuss the show, it's my regular partner in crime, it's Stefan.
Yo!
How you doing, mate?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. And also joining us, a little bit of a surprise entry because this isn't Marvel. This is scary stuff. It's Kayleigh. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Yes, I am okay. I've returned from hiding behind my sofa, having watched this show.
You've got another 2 episodes. That's until then. You're fine.
Yeah, I want you to stop doing that. So let's kick this podcast off. I have The Last of Us is a TV show. It's been brought to us by HBO, and as I said, Sky Atlantic in the UK. The show is based off of a video game of the same name. Mm-hmm. And I have never played it. Kayleigh, is this a game you've ever come across or played?
No, I'm not a gamer.
No. Okay, so we're in the same boat on this. I saw the trailer for it. I found it interesting. Now, Stefan, you have played this game.
I am the resident gamer. Yep.
And because of you playing this game, loving this game, you're being a bit of a jerk about it. I'm not going to lie.
So this game, I played this game back in like 2013, so like 10 years ago. And It was the second game that I ever actually played to completion.
Can I just take a moment just to... 10 years ago was 2013.
Yeah, that sucks, doesn't it?
What the fuck?
Yeah, that sucks. As I said, I aged.
That hurt.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't good. That means 2003 was 20 years ago.
We're almost a quarter of a century away from the millennium.
Anyway, so moving on from that, because you may actually hear a man cry on the podcast if we keep going down that road.
Yeah.
You, as I said, you're being a bit of a jerk about it. You're like, oh yeah, you just wait. Oh yeah, you just wait. And dude, you gotta stop. You're killing me.
I still get PTSD off what I call the clickers. So yeah, it's fine.
And I don't know what a clicker is.
Not yet. No.
Oh, Kayleigh, should we just mute him?
Time.
So we're in this kind of like dangerous place with this because I think obviously the show is following the storyline set out by the game.
Yeah.
I know from adaptations in the past of TV shows and stuff where certain things don't translate. Whether you're translating it from a comic book, a novel, a movie into a TV, there are certain things you need to adjust to make it work for the TV show. So,
okay.
But based on what I'm reading, it would appear that if you're a fan of the game's storyline, you are going to be a fan of this TV show. So you basically have the spoiler manual sat in front of you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say to you, you're gonna need to be careful because me and Kayleigh, for example, are new to this, but I imagine a lot of our listeners are too.
100%. Yeah. No. I've really kind of made the mental note of. I'm like, right, I have to really pay attention as to where each episode is going to end and what happens in it. Now, don't get me wrong, I haven't played the game for quite a long time. I think this is one of those games, it was so good I've actually played it through a few times. Okay. But the last time must have been 3 years ago or so.
Okay.
So I couldn't tell you exactly what's going to happen each time. But at the same time, I need to concentrate on what happens each episode just so that I don't let slip something that's about to happen. Because I'm like, has that happened in the game or the show yet? Yeah. I know on our Discord, I know that a couple of people on there actually replayed the game just before the show came out because they wanted it all to be fresh. Luckily, I was not one of those people because otherwise, this would be crazy for me.
Sorry, Stefan, did you mention that we have a Discord?
I did indeed, sir. We have a thriving Discord community.
Thriving Discord community. Wow.
Made it sound good, right?
It did. Yeah, actually really sold it. I want to get on a t-shirt, a thriving Discord community. Speaking of t-shirts, by the way, the Stuff and Things t-shirts have arrived. One or two people have already begged and asked, and the only thing I would say about them is I'm not sure on the sizes. I don't know whether it's an optical illusion or not, but we've got extra small up to 2XL, and I'm looking at them, I'm like, if I can get an arm in. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know.
They're all the same size.
Yeah. I think it's an optical illusion. I think it is. But get in touch. A number of people have already messaged because I sort of mentioned it on another show, I think. So feel free to get in touch on that. But anyway, focusing on this, then focusing on The Last of Us. There's an opening scene which is in 1968, and we see a Dr. Newman discussing fungus.
Mm-hmm.
Kayleigh, I'm going to start with you because I'm going to bring Stefan in to talk about the sort of game adaptation afterwards. But I don't know whether it's just me, but considering we've just come out of a global pandemic in the real world, listening to this guy talk about, pandemic stuff like that and diseases, and then he went into what appeared to be, for me anyway, a very sound, logical, rational argument of how this could happen, kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah, it was very, very close to home, it's got to be said.
Yeah.
Probably still a bit fresh. Is it too soon to be doing this? I don't know.
Yeah.
But that enough was enough to terrify me. This could actually happen.
Yeah.
And I almost turned it off at that point and thought, no, no, I've had enough trauma. I'm not doing it again.
Yeah, I do like the fact that you basically watched this opening episode because we said, are you joining us for this show? And you were like, oh, I don't know. I don't think it's really for me. And then your kind of commentary notes in our chat was basically like, well, I'm still watching it. Nearly turned it off. My son ran out of the room at this point, But yeah, that opening discussion, that kind of very common. He's a good actor as well, the guy they got in for that. Yeah, love him. And just the way he spoke at it. I mean, I know this is scripted, it's acting, but it just came across very like I'm watching Dr. Fauci in America, or the guys here. I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel good. This is like giving me some sort of horrible flashback, and the guy's explaining it in a way that makes this feel very real. I don't like it. Stefan, I want to bring you in. Now, obviously, I don't know, did the game kind of give you that explanation at the start, or is this just something they've done for the TV? As much.
Yeah, that was done for the TV. There's a few little tweaks from the game to the show. That is one of them. Another one is gas masks. If there was anywhere where the fungus had been kind of set around, you could inhale the spores and stuff. So you had to have a face mask, gas mask on. In the show, it looks like they're not going through that route as much. So there's a few little bits and pieces. I think as well in the game, the outbreak is in 2013 when you play the game, and it jumps to 2033, and the show was 2003 to 2023. So there's a few small changes.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I don't think those are... Well, I mean, I don't know.
They're not game changers, so to speak, yeah?
Yeah. I was just... Oh, yeah. I was just kind of curious about whether the game gave you that kind of opening scene or whether it was mirrored in any way, but... I did find that kind of fascinating the way they did it, because so many shows like Walking Dead and stuff like that, the Apocalypse, you don't actually know how it started. There's no explanation given, and there's kind of like a driving factor in watching the show is like, I hope at some point I find out why this happened. Mm-hmm. I watched The Walking Dead for nearly 12 years. I never did, by the way.
No, we still never know.
No. Still don't know. So the fact that this show basically opened with, this is how this is going to happen, And it was done in a way, it's like, you know, this is back in the 60s, this doctor has told everyone this could happen. And the way it was done like that, like a warning from the past, and you're kind of watching it, and like I said, it felt very close to home given all recent events. It did feel very ominous, and did feel kind of like I now need to do a lot of Google research to find out if this is real. I now need to know. One of the things I saw going into watching the episode is that in the game, the outbreak is this fungus gets into wheat, which is obviously in so many things, bread and all sorts. Mm-hmm. Is that something from the game? Is that correct?
Do you know what? I don't remember. In all honesty, that bit has skipped my mind.
Okay, well, hopefully I'm right then. Hopefully I'm reading this right, because I saw that before, and then I saw that opening scene. I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. But the thing that I kind of loved is there's opening scenes where we meet Joel Miller, who appears to be one of the main characters, his daughter.
Yeah.
And there are scenes where they are constantly not eating anything with wheat. Like, they didn't do the pancakes. Like, that was a deliberate thing. Next door tried to offer them bread, and he said he's on Atkins, and they didn't take the bread. Yeah. And there were about 5 different instances in that opening.
You forgot to buy the cake and all stuff like that. Yeah,
forgot to buy the cake, pizza. There were all these different things, and I kind of, because I had that already in my head, I thought, wow, that's brilliant. Mm-hmm. That's really clever, because you'd have no idea watching that. And just having that little detail that I had, and then I'm guessing as the show progresses, you'll learn that. But I just thought that was really well written, really really good start to the show.
Yeah.
Kayleigh, you know, based on the trailer for the show, that this is a post-apocalyptic, etc. Mm-hmm. When you're watching these opening scenes, how are you feeling watching it? Do you have that kind of like, where's this going, or do you have that feeling of dread of like, I know something's about to happen?
I think the tone of it is a bit of a giveaway in that, you know that something's coming. I knew something was coming. I knew there was going to be something horrific. Yeah. Which is why I wasn't even going to watch it. You know, this isn't the kind of genre. I don't do zombie stuff.
No.
Horror, fine. You know, I suffer through some of it. But a post-apocalyptic anything is just not my jam. So I went in with an open mind, because you know everyone was raving about it and it seemed to be like the next big thing. So I had to watch it, and I'm glad I did. But yeah, it was again a bit too close to home and a bit too shit. This could actually happen.
Stephan, what did you think of the opening? Because I felt the opening where you've got Joel, his daughter Sarah, and you know brother Tommy, etc., and the interactions. Do you remember when Fear the Walking Dead first came out? And me and you both said the best thing that show had going for it is that everyone watching knew there was about to be a zombie apocalypse, but no one on the show did. So every time they'd turn a corner and they'd be like, hey, who's this guy? Look, he's drunk. You'd be like, oh, no, he's not drunk, mate. That's a zombie. You know, you're in trouble now.
Yeah.
And I felt watching this beginning, and like you hear like the news in the background, and you hear like sirens, and someone says, oh, police have been going crazy all day, and it was like building, and I felt there was a real tension to that. I mean, what did you think?
Yeah, it was so well done. Like, it's kind of fun when you're sat on the outside of it, because obviously we're looking in and it's like, right, we know the show is based post-apocalypse.
Something bad's about to happen.
Yeah, this is clearly pre-apocalypse. It's about to go down any minute. And then, sirens going all over the place, and then helicopters and aeroplane jets are flying overhead, and they're all kind of wandering around going, the hell's going on? What? Oh, this is strange. And obviously we're watching it going, oh, you're in trouble. Oh, here he comes.
So the first scene, which I would class as my nope moment, was the young girl Sarah is in her neighbour's home, and one of the neighbours is disabled in a way, and she's kind of in a wheelchair behind her.
Yeah.
And the focus is on Sarah, but behind her you can see this character start to kind of become very animated, like her arms moving in a weird way, like her mouth's open. It just becomes very kind of like, what the is going on in the background. And then you just follow Sarah out like nothing happened, but we've seen it.
Yeah.
And that was my first watching it. That was my first like, oh no, what am I watching? This isn't good for me. Kayleigh,
that was the bit that Logan just noped out of the room and went, nope, I am done. I'm going to make it past this point because Logan couldn't, and Logan's braver than you. We all know.
Yeah, absolutely,
But that's the kind of horror that I like. Like the, it's coming. It was good. I like that. It was very subtle, and you could have missed it. You could have
missed it. And this is the kind of thing that I think a lot of people, when they're making shows or they're making movies, is that your imagination can do so much better than any visual effect. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, some visual effects are incredible and stuff like that, but my head, just seeing those little jaggedy movements in the background, just ran with that. It was like, oh no, what's going to happen?
She's
and then she just carried like nothing happened. Like nothing happened. She moved away, she left the room, and you're like, oh, okay, but that's the start there. My brain is just gone. It's like, that was the first sign now. Here we go. This is and then of course I'm going, are they going to be slow? Are they going to be fast? What, is this zombies? Is this, and my brain is just ticking over, and I'm trying to work it out. And
are we talking The Walking Dead and George Romero, or are we talking World War Z? What level are we?
Are we talking the brainless brains? Or are we talking ones that chase you, drag you to the ground, and eat you?
See, I already know in my head, like, if there's ever an apocalypse like this, depending on what end of the spectrum it is, depends on how hard I even bother trying.
I've already said, if any apocalyptic event, even bad weather, as I said, I would have curled up and died.
I'm concerned about that with the bad weather thing. When we're off there, we need to chat.
Yeah, I've been looking at the news, so there's not been extreme hailstorms.
Yeah, there's like a polar vortex coming, and I feel like I need to like adopt you for a few weeks or something just to look after you.
Honestly, I would just, lie down and die.
It's just like, no, opt out.
Golf ball size hailstones. Quick, phone Kayleigh.
Yeah, that's it. Basically, every time we get extreme weather now, I'm going to be worried about you. This is extra stress in my life I don't need. So the thing that happens next for me, which is the bit that this is the bit where I feel, without realising, I actually held my breath. So Sarah goes to sleep and wakes up with explosions happening.
Mm-hmm.
And basically in the time that she has gone to sleep, this has gone from, there's stuff going on, to this is now the outbreak. This is the fall of civilization. And she, by the way, she leaves the house, right? Because the dog's barking. Anyone else at this point going, what are you doing? What are you doing? Literally, the TV just had an emergency thing saying, stay indoors, lock your doors, lock your windows. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And I had that kind of like horror movie thing of like, oh, I'll be right back. No, you won't though, will you? What are you doing? Just stay where you are. And then we see her go out, and we see her then go to investigate her neighbours.
Taking the dog back, yeah. Did you get massive stay in the house kid vibes?
Yeah, I am feeling this now in this full on. I don't do horror films. I don't do things to deliberately scare myself because I don't see the point in it. And I'm watching this and I'm thinking, damn you, Stephan, what have you got me watching, man?
Yeah, now see, in the game, you play as Sarah walking around the house at night trying to find your dad, and you can look in the rooms and stuff like that. Mate, I still remember there's at least 2 or 3 jump scares in the game when you're just walking around the house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I'm watching this. I'm watching it with my wife and my in-laws. So there's the 4 of us sat there watching it. And they keep looking at me laughing because I'm like shuddering because like PTSD from the game. Like, oh my God, here we go. Oh my God. And then nothing happens. So I'm just like, I look like I'm just shuddering in the corner for no reason. I'm like, oh. Oh, there was a jump scare there in the game. Okay, it didn't happen. Oh, no, wait. When is it going to happen? When is it going to happen?
Well, I'm kind of watching it, and then we have the blood on the floor.
Yeah.
And we see the guy is like dying. He's clearly been attacked. And then you see the woman that we saw start to become animated earlier is basically feasting on somebody else.
On the woman, yeah.
And has got like these, I don't know what the right word is, like tentacles coming out of her mouth. I don't know what the word is.
Yeah.
Fungus, basically. And obviously Sarah at this point runs, and her dad and her uncle, so Joel and Tommy, rock up in like their truck, just in the nick of time, luckily.
Yeah.
They've obviously been downtown. Side note, Joel's just had to go bail Tommy out of jail.
Yep.
So they've obviously seen what's going on, like, oh, holy crap, this is a big deal. They grab her and they take this woman out. I mean, he basically plants her, I think, with like a wrench.
Yeah, something
kills
like that,
her in the street. Tells a neighbour, by the way, just like, yeah, everything's fine, just go back in your house. We then see that neighbour get munched,
because
just like
she
as
runs
they're
over to the
driving
little
away.
lady that... Oh, he runs someone over.
Yeah.
He runs someone over on the way out, and she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, no! Go back to your house. Go back to your house."
Yeah, it's like just, and this is the thing, like when stuff like this happens, you see like, oh, there's a monster in the street. Now, in my brain, right, before COVID-19 happened, I used to think stuff like this was ridiculous. I used to think, oh, the idea that you'd hear the news say, stay in your house, lock your doors. The idea that you'd hear bombs going off there and you just wander into the street and you'd see someone there like acting like that and you would go towards them. And I'm like, actually, no. Having experienced COVID-19 where people fight over toilet roll,
Yeah.
actually get the illness, see their best friend die from it and then go, yeah, but it's just a cold, innit? I can actually believe that someone would walk straight up to a zombie like, oh, you're right, mate. How you doing? And get
ran
eaten.
you over, didn't it? Ah!
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually now completely buy into this. The whole trope now is changed for me. This is like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. But this is the moment. So this car scene,
Yes.
I believe, is a direct pull from the game.
Pretty much word for word.
To the point that people have put them side by side on social media going, this is incredible.
Absolutely fantastic. Yep.
I genuinely feel like I held my breath for this entire thing. When that plane crashed,
Oh, behind them.
realised
Yes.
I kind of realised I've been holding my breath. And I was like, oh, bloody hell. Snapped out of it. But I thought that was incredible. That whole scene felt, I know it wasn't, but felt like a one shot of just stuff happening everywhere, and you just felt the tension of like, are they going to get out? What's going to happen? I mean, Kayleigh, what did you think of that? I mean, because I know, Stefan, you're probably just sat there smiling like this is directly from the game. This is brilliant.
Even like the script to it, yeah.
Kayleigh, what about you? What did you think of that whole scene?
Yeah, like you, it was a hold your breath, twitchy bum kind of moment. Yeah. Like, oh, what's coming? And there was a few points where I thought, oh, this is it. This is where it's all going to happen. And they kind of did the fake out thing, which was quite good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really good at, like you say, building that tension. And I like you haven't played the game, so I can't say whether, you know, how good it was in comparison with the game, but I've seen those stills next to each other.
Yeah.
And if you're a fan of it, God, it would have just been the most amazing movie for you to see that, captured on film. It would have been brilliant. Yeah,
you'd be over the moon. I completely. I mean, there's a few books that I've read in my life when I was younger that have now been turned into films and TV series, and getting to see something I've read and imagined in my head then on the screen, I'm like, oh, I'm giddy. This is amazing. So I imagine if you've played the game and you love the game, getting to see a scene like that with the actors and it feels like, it must feel like a real tribute, because they could have changed all of it, could have changed all the dialogue, could have changed, what they did, but they didn't. They went, right, this is for the gamers, this is a epic scene, this is for you, this is our show telling you we love you, watch this.
And
actually, if you're not a gamer like me, watching this and knowing that the game a game can be that good would encourage me to go and give the game a go.
No, it's more than fair. That's and it is. I mean, it does the storyline, like games and stuff like that, for a long time now. Story-based games are just another art form, really. You know, you've got storytelling via writing novels, writing comic books, and you also now have games. You know, people are telling stories and narratives, and that it is just another form.
Yeah, I have said for the last 10 years that The Last of Us is the best computer game I've ever played. Wow. So the fact that they've now got the TV show is what made me so excited, because genuinely, like, story mode wise and stuff like that, like, you play through the campaign of the game, and it's the first computer game I'd ever played that was an emotional roller coaster. Like, from start to finish of the game, your emotions are all over the place. You're on the edge of your seat. There's jump scares. There's all these different bits happening throughout the game. And then to now have that in the TV show itself, like, watching, especially so this first episode, of course, we see what happens to his daughter. Yeah. And, oh man, I remember playing, that's probably the first 10, maybe 15 minutes of the game. Yeah. And you're already sat there with like a lump in your throat, like, damn. Well, and then you remind yourself, this is a computer game.
See, now what's kind of interesting is I obviously didn't play the game, so I didn't know the fate of Sarah. Yeah. However, I have watched the trailer. Yep. And I've seen every single promotional thing, and she ain't in any of it. Yeah. So in my head, as all of this is happening at the start, I'm thinking, I am mentally preparing myself for this girl to die. Yeah. So I've never played the game. I had no spoiler of that. I had no idea, but I was mentally preparing myself because, and I don't know about both of you probably can say this now. Stefan, definitely, you're new to this as well. There's something about when kids die in TV shows, as a parent, it seems to hit me harder. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, this girl was basically my daughter's age. So I'm thinking to myself, right, I've got to start mentally preparing myself for this. Like, she's going to get ripped apart or something bad's going to happen because I know she's not in the rest of this show, because otherwise she'd be in at least one trailer somewhere. As it was, what did you, Kayleigh, on this first? There's a scene, they're out of the car now and he's carrying her because she's hurt. And you see there's like 10 of these creatures feeding, and one of them looks up and spots him and then chases him. What was going through your mind with that thing basically running and leaping after them?
Oh, absolutely shit me pants.
Yeah.
So again, zombies, slow. Yeah. They plod along after you. We've already seen that they're like super zombies, climb the walls, and, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, at that moment, I was just thinking, run, you fucking idiot! Run, what are you doing?
My second nope moment.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was a really scary, terrifying moment for me. And like you know it's coming. But I wasn't quite prepared for how brutal and distressing it was going to be. Yeah. And that was the second point where I almost turned it off. There was 3 points in this episode where I thought, nope, can't do it, turning it off. This was the second.
Yeah, what?
I muddled on through. I powered through for you guys.
I think the thing that gets to me most is when you're watching a show like this and you've got these monsters, basically, they're not actually the villains of the piece, which is when I used to watch The Walking Dead and stuff like that, and when I watched this straight away, in this opening segment, there is a soldier who is ordered to kill a man and his child. Mm-hmm. That isn't a monster. A monster's just acting on instinct. A monster's just, my instinct is to kill. A monster's just doing that. This is a human being is being ordered to execute a man and his child, even though he can clearly see they're just trying to get to safety. Yeah. Yeah. And that, to me, is when you're watching a show like this and you're like, this is the horrible point of humanity, and shows like this are basically just holding this horrible mirror to society, because again, we've just lived through COVID and we've seen some pretty horrible situations, and still to this day there are some governments around the world who are treating their citizens not well. To try and combat this or to try and deal with this. And you see this scene and this guy gets ordered to, and it was in that moment I knew what happened to Sarah.
Yeah.
And I was not okay with it. I was like, this is worse. Her being attacked, killed by a monster is bad. Her being shot by someone who's basically should be there to protect them. That just hit me, and it was awful.
Now, up until that point, I had, because I kind of knew she was going to die, but didn't think it was going to be quite so brutal. But until that moment, I still held out hope that actually the whole series is going to be about him
trying to find her. Yeah.
Like they got separated, with Tommy, and it was and that was his motivation for getting through this.
Yeah.
So it was really hard to watch her die.
It was. Stefan, I'm guessing this is a direct thing from the game.
Yeah, and it sucked just as much. Yeah, like the difference was the TV show gave you actually a bit more of Sarah's backstory. Yeah. So you kind of see her at school and bits like that, which you don't really get in the game. So, like I said, in the game, that's probably like the first 15 odd minutes.
Yeah.
We had about an hour. So that's helped us because like the viewers are even more attached to kind of Sarah's character and Joel's character and stuff.
I do think it's worth... sorry, mate, to interrupt you. I do think it's worth saying is a phenomenal young actress there, because she has literally got a part where she needs to make the audience care about her very, very quickly.
Yeah, you're going to live and die in an hour, make the people care. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not an easy thing. You've got to have... One, you need to have good chemistry with your co-stars, but also you need to have acting chops to pull that off. You need to be able to emote. You need to be able to deliver your lines, and not just deliver your lines, but react in a way that you as an audience are like, I care about this kid. Yeah. And I thought she nailed it.
100%.
She did it very well. Really well. She's a great little actress. I hope we see more of her in other stuff. Obviously not in this now.
No, she ain't coming back to this.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
We get a time jump 20 years later, which brings us to present day 2023, which is obviously why they've done that adjustment from the game, like Stefan discussed earlier on. Boston, there's like a kind of stronghold, I guess, like a walled community.
Yeah.
And we get this girl basically kind of stumble up to the gates. She's alive, she's okay. They seem to take her in, like check her over, and they're all being really nice to her, like, where are you from, don't worry, you're safe.
Oh, yeah.
And then in the very next scene, we see bodies being burnt by workers, and we see Joel's character literally lift the body of this girl and throw her into the fire like she's nothing.
Yeah.
There's two parts to that I want to just kind of pick up on. I'm going to go to Kayleigh first, because Stefan, I know you probably got a little bit more insight. But the 2 points from this, Kayleigh, I'm going to put you first. Is one, how ice cold is Joel? 20 years later after losing his daughter to just do that and treat it like it's nothing. And two, the second point is, what the hell is going on with this community and these federal kind of people that this girl seemed to be there and they're going to look after her, and the next thing we know, she's dead.
Yeah, I think it's that. I mean, that was the third almost, point of turning it off for me.
Yeah.
And I think you can... For Joel, he's detached himself.
Yeah.
He's lost his kid. There's another kid. You have to be emotionally detached, even if it was an adult. If that's your job in this new community, you have to take the emotion out of it.
But don't you think they did that brilliantly by having the other woman there be like, I can't. No, it's a kid. Like I've been throwing bodies of adults in here all day, but I can't do it with the kid. and the way he literally walked up like he was just dumping a bit of cloth. Like, it's dead. It's nothing.
Absolutely broke my heart to see that. It really did. And for the, I don't know what we're calling them, Federation people, they're in self-preservation mode. You know, they are doing all they can to keep or minimize, you know, the risk to everyone that's built up this community. And you can kind of understand it in a way, but it was fucking brutal.
Yeah, no, it was.
And, you know, oh, what's your favourite toy? Mate, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no.
That was rough. Stefan, I want to bring you in then. Can you offer us a little bit more kind of without spoilers, obviously?
Yeah, so the first thing for me was I was watching this about 3, maybe 4 minutes ahead of where Kayleigh was. Because Kayleigh messaged me to say that she had it on as well. And when that child came on the screen, she was like, oh, that looks just like one of my kids. And I'm sat there like, oh, Jesus Christ, no. Oh, no. Oh, I've just seen what happens to that kid. Oh, that's not going to go down well. Oh, okay, right, okay. But basically what it is in that scene, you see the guy comes up and like tests the child.
Yeah.
And it goes green or red. Red is infected.
Yeah.
So that's it. If you're infected, that's it. You're done. See you later. Dead. Bye.
Yeah.
It is very, very brutal. Kind of their way of going about it, of how to keep everyone safe. Yeah. If you're infected, dead.
Again, and I don't think this is a spoiler. Can you give us some insight on the infections? So, like, for example, if someone's infected, they are going to become this within what? Is there a set kind of pattern of what happens? Do they suddenly become their monstrous self within a day, or can it vary? Or, you know, like you said, it turns red, they just kill them. So obviously their opinion is, if you're infected, there is no cure, and you're going to kill us all if we don't kill you first.
Basically, yeah, that's the opinion that's kind of given. Which is why we find at the end of the episode with Ellie's character, like, they're ready to kill her. And she's like, no, look, this was days ago. I'm fine. Don't worry. Like, I'm okay.
So are we looking at the fact that she hasn't turned within days or a week or whatever is a sign that that's very abnormal?
Yes.
Typically, if they're infected and it goes red, you're looking at a day, 2 days,
couple of days or so, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's quite helpful.
That is my belief. From what I remember, that is it. Someone, I'm sure, will correct me if I am wrong, but from what I remember, yes. It was all done very quickly.
I can say with a degree of certainty, if you say something wrong on this podcast, someone will correct you.
100%, yes.
I can say that.
Is the kind of route of transmission now different to how it was originally?
It does
like, how
seem
are people getting infected now?
Yeah, so like I say, in the game, it was a case of you could breathe in the spores. So there's a scene after the time jump stuff where Tess and Joel are walking through like what looks like the sewery bits.
Yeah, and you see one like stuck to a wall.
He was stuck to a wall. Now in the game, if that was there, you'd have a face mask on and everything, like gas mask on and stuff, so that you didn't breathe in any of the spores. Because if you breathe the spores in, that would then infect you.
Yeah.
So yeah, in this, there wasn't as much of the airborne side of it, I think. Whether that changes later on, or that's something that is explored and discovered. So, like in the game, it was a break of the skin, so like a bite, a scratch, something like that, or inhaling. So there was lots of, gas masks inside where the fungus was. But from this one, we don't see them wearing the gas masks in those areas, to which I'm guessing is... Which is strange, though, because like at the very beginning, they explained... Remember they said about the ants? They explained about the whole ant thing at the beginning. That is all done through like spore-based stuff, so like they breathe it in or they get infected by it. So I expect them to kind of keep it, but I'm not sure now.
I saw something a little bit amusing about this. Now, Pedro Pascal, the star of the show, is also the star of a Star Wars series called The Mandalorian.
Yes.
one of the things that's a standout about that show is the fact that he's the title character, but he basically wears a helmet the whole time. You don't ever see his face.
Yeah.
Now, apparently, that was a little bit of a factor when they were creating this show of, one, that's a little bit on the nose that we're going to basically have him in a gas mask a lot of the time. Where basically he's being Mando again.
Yeah.
And the second part was, from a filming point of view, they felt that it would take something away if they are constantly having characters in gas masks. Although I'm sure there's going to be elements at some point. I think you're right. I think that's too big of a plot point to completely ignore.
Yeah.
I think I do understand why you would make that decision for TV.
Yeah, I can understand, like, if there's going to be a couple of scenes to say they're going through a certain area and you can see, like, a haze in the air from all the spores, put a mask on or something, and just to keep a little nod to it. I think that's all they need.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind some changes like that, as long as they kind of nod to it in some reference. I think they'll be all right.
I'm sure there will be. Because, I mean, Kayleigh's point is valid. You know, if you look at this, that this all started because it got into the food chain.
Then it perfect sense, yeah.
Then at this point, 20 years on, that should really not be infecting people anymore. You know, people should have grown wise to it, or you know, all the bread's infected. Don't eat the frigging bread. You know.
Yeah.
So at some point you'd have realised and you'd have moved on and got to a point where that's not going to cause the infection anymore. So what is?
Yeah.
And as you said, you know, as simple as breaking the skin, scratch, stuff like that.
The
it's going to be interesting.
Stuff as such, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that's explored, because like you say, the spores is obviously a very easy way of that being the case, but they've kind of written it out. Mate, again, I'm going to ask you to kind of come in, but please try your best not to go too spoilery. Can you kind of explain the Fireflies to me? Because the way I'm watching it in this show, and Kayleigh jump in as well, it feels like you've got Fedra are the people like the government. They're the ones that are running the show. But there is a resistance movement where people don't want to live under a dictatorship, and that's how they feel. Have I got that right?
I believe so. I'm just trying to find. I sent you a message, didn't I, about all this? And I kind of I explained it to you in a message, and I'm just very.
Well, surely that means you can explain it to me again now.
Well, you'd think that, wouldn't you? But I think I explained it quite well. So apparently, we sent each other far too many messages. So okay, right.
Well, Kayleigh, whilst he's trying to find his own faults, was that your takeaway as well? Is that how you interpreted things?
Yeah, I think it was kind of obvious that there were these kind of. I had three groups in my mind.
Okay.
Three groups of people. So you've got the kind of government-y people, you've got the resistance people, and then Joel almost sits on the outside of that for me. But I think we'll learn more about how he's linked to both. I don't know. So, yeah, I don't know. There's still too many questions. I don't know it enough to be able to
I found
put a comprehensive answer together.
Okay, all right, go on then. Articulate your own thoughts.
So, FEDRA are the Federal Disaster Response Administration.
Okay.
They are basically the people who are basically the government now. Yeah. They're in charge of this gated community. If you ask the Fireflies, then Fedra are the bad guys. They're like an organisation who don't like how everything is being run at the moment, and they're trying to stand up for their own people, get better rights, and kind of move away from this. Then we have obviously Joel, Tess, who's his kind of partner in this, girlfriendly partner.
Yeah. Smugglers.
They're basically they're smugglers. We see Joel quite early on. He's kind of like doing a drugs deal for ration tickets and stuff.
Yeah.
We have Marlene. Now, a fun thing about Marlene as well, I'll go into in a second. She seems to be like the head of the Fireflies. Obviously, they're trying to bring down the government in this gated community. She is the only person in this show who was also played the same character in the games and the TV show.
Nice. That's fun.
The characters who played Ellie, Joel and Tommy in the game will appear in this show. However, not as Ellie, Joel, and Tommy. Whereas the character who plays Marlene, Merle Dandridge, I think I've wrote her name down as. She actually plays Marlene in the game as well. So there's a fun little nod there.
Okay.
So do we see? So in the scenes that we've seen up to now, obviously we're in Boston.
Yes.
Yeah.
How many of these groups and communities are there? Do we get to see more of them, or is it all kind of
is it all federal?
Yeah, or is it every city, town, country, whatever has their own version, or is it a national?
You will have to carry on watching the show to find out.
Oh, dun dun dun! Oh, ooh, he's good. All right, okay, that's fair enough. One of the things we learn is that not only is Joel 20 years later still going, his brother is as well, Tommy.
Yep.
There's a little very subtle thing at the start of the show where Tommy, and you see that there's a military veteran thing written on the truck.
Yeah.
With that being there, are Joel and Tommy veterans, or is it just Tommy? Do we know from the game?
Oh, I feel like I should know that.
Okay.
Is that in like the very opening scene when they're all in the car together?
Yeah. There's like a little sticker on the truck, and I think it's Joel's truck, but Tommy was driving it at that point.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm sure it's Tommy is.
Joel kind of carries himself that way as well.
Yeah.
But that could just be that he's that way inclined anyway.
And suddenly you realise just how little you remember from playing the game.
Yeah. See, I built you up as the expert, man. You're gonna have to play the game again.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to do some research
between now
for
and
next week.
I'm gonna have to have played up to that part of the game.
Yeah. It's like come back and be like, oh, I'm traumatized. I don't want to watch the show anymore.
Yeah. The clickers. Yeah.
Again, stop saying that because I don't know what that is, but you keep building it up. Shut up. So we got this kind of thing with like quarantine zones and stuff like that, and we have this situation where the Fireflies have got this girl, and this girl is just chained up. No real explanation as to why.
Nope.
They're testing her, they're asking her questions and stuff, and again, they're doing it day after day. No real explanation of why. I pieced together that she is infected, and they believe that she is the cure because she's not turning. Am I right in that is what they think?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe.
Kayleigh, did you get that as well?
Eventually, yes, but originally I thought that she was some kind of negotiating tool. You know, they kidnapped
fair point.
Some high up person, and they were going to use her to, negotiate a move or an escape or something. But it does become clear quite quickly that that's her purpose.
Ellie is full of attitude. Swears like a sailor.
Yeah.
Very straight away, quite a prickly character.
Spot on from the game. Yeah.
One that... See, this is interesting because, again, I'm going to give compliments to the actress because I think that's exactly how she should be.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing. You got two young actresses in this. One needed to make you fall in love with her very quickly, so you felt the emotion of her death. And one needed you to kind of go, who the fuck is this kid? And why is she? Where's the attitude? What's going on?
Yeah, it genuinely takes about a third of the game, if not slightly longer, for you to kind of warm to this character. Like, I remember playing the game and still being like a little bit into the game, just like, oh my god, something just come and kill her off. Oh my god, the attitude!
I didn't get that. No.
The attitude behind this one. God,
I was going to say, I'm not quite kill her off, mate. I was just kind of like, there's something to her which is different, and that's you don't have that instant.
No,
like Sarah was kind of like an instant rapport.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she's a teenager. I mean, so don't get me wrong. I saw the yin and yang of my own daughter in these two characters, trust me, and that yin and yang seems to flip by the second. But it just, I felt it was good. I felt like, okay, this is interesting. This is not a sympathetic kind of weakling kid that needs help or anything like that, or he's not going to immediately go, oh, you remind me of my daughter. That's not it. Like this is going to be a different relationship. And he kind of somehow stumbles into this situation where, as a smuggler, he is asked to smuggle her out to get her somewhere.
Well,
he's assured he'll be well compensated.
He's more kind of told, you are taking her, you're the only one that can do it. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It did feel kind of a little bit press gang, but at the same time, I do feel like he could have walked away. He could have. I feel like he literally could have walked out of that room because she was bleeding out. You know.
Yeah, true.
Could have just been like, nah, good luck. I'm not getting involved in this. I'm gonna just keep my head down for a while. But he didn't. He took on the job. So it's him, his partner, and young Ellie get out from under there. And they run into the guard that he was previously dealing drugs to.
Yeah.
What, Kayleigh, you first. What did you think about this scene? He's got them on their knees. He's doing this test. What was going through your mind during this scene?
I genuinely thought that he was going to go, oh, just go.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was going to go the route that it did.
No, I'm the same. I thought, considering he was dealt drugs by this guy, I thought it was going to be like, oh, you're going out getting more, all right, get me some of this, and I don't have, I don't have to pay as much this time, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's the way I thought it would go. And again, it was a very much edge of your seat. Oh my God, shit! What's going to jump out? Who's going to get a leg ripped off now?
Yeah.
Type scenario. But yeah, it did kind of throw me a little bit with the way that it went.
One of the things we discussed a little minute ago is how detached Joel is now. Don't you think it was actually a little bit scary, and I liked it from a character point of view, how quickly that detachment went to rage. That guy has got an inner rage in him. Like, you saw it. He saw the flashback of the soldier pointing the gun at his child. By seeing this again, a gun being pointed at a child. And when he snapped, I thought, wow, that was something. I mean, he's a great actor, this guy. And I thought, wow, he was so detached, so kind of, she's cargo, so kind of, you saw how detached he is, and then bang, that happens. He literally beats that guy to death with his bare hands. That was a level of brutality I wasn't expecting.
No, but it makes sense though, because it's almost like redemption for him. You are not going to take this child like you took the last one.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great to see that from him.
Yeah.
And I think it sets the tone for their relationship and the development of their relationship.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Stefan?
Yeah.
What is this? Is this a scene from the game? What did you think about the scene?
Yeah, no. Again, a good scene, and like you guys said, like that kind of that snap of kind of. I've got to be very careful with my wording here because of future things, but seeing that kind of protective side of him still because of what happened in the past.
Yeah,
it is something that you do get from the game as well, so it was good to see that.
Yeah.
So, question then, in the game, obviously because I'm not a gamer, I don't, I might have played Crash Bandicoot years ago.
Legend,
a gamer. In the game, when we get to that point, are you the player responsible for knocking that bloke on his ass, or is that
you play as Joel throughout the majority of the game? Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I think there's a couple of bits where you have to play as Ellie, but mainly you play as Joel throughout the game.
Yeah. Okay. So, sorry. The way you said how you played Crash Bandicoot then, I had this feeling of you going, oh, I used to play, Sonic the Mario brother. I was like, what? Anyway, one of the other... So, they've got out now, they've taken out that soldier, they've grabbed the gun and they're on the move, and that's obviously going to be where we follow going into episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the other things that goes on in this is we see that Tommy is not missing. Tommy's at a place called The Tower. So I'm guessing Tommy is working with Fedra, and again, this is my guess. but I'm possibly wrong.
That is how the show kind of puts it across, as like he's known there. He goes to that guy that's doing like the communications, isn't he? And I love the fact there's a queue here, asshole, and he just like walks straight past, like yes, I just don't care. Off you jog. And
there is an element in this that you do get the impression that no one fucks with Joel.
Yeah, he is a stone cold man.
Because there's a moment where his missus is obviously had a run-in with like this little boss, if you like, and he's terrified to let her go in case she goes and tells him.
Yeah.
Like, there's a guy with like a few big guys around him and he's terrified of Joel. And like you say, there's that queue there and a few people moan, but no one's getting in his face about it.
No.
So you do get the impression straight away that in this community, no one messes with Joel.
Yeah.
So do we find out about how he gets that reputation and why he's so, in air quotes, respected? Or is it just he's just an ass and people are scared of him?
I think you just kind of get a general kind of, he's been around a long time, you don't mess with him sort of thing.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I get the feeling, if you just look at how he carries himself, I think the show does a good job in giving us that information without giving us that information. You know, there's no cheesy dialogue of, oh, there goes Joel, you don't mess with Joel, I once saw him kill 5 men with a pencil, you know? You don't get that. You just get the sense of, okay, no one's messing with him. He was stone cold disposing of the body. You saw him, you saw this guy genuinely seem afraid of him. You've seen this queue of people, no one say really anything to him. You can just take away from that he's respected or feared or both.
Yeah.
So there appears to be this thing where his brother communicates with him and it's been weeks. He's not heard from him. He's like, I hear from him every day. And then a little bit later on, he has a moment with Ellie where Ellie's found a code book.
Oh, this was brilliant.
And in the code book, it appears to say 80s danger. And so she says, she kind of messes with him by saying, oh, like this song was playing. And he jumps up like, oh, no, that. And she's like, oh, I cracked your code.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, I don't really follow that. I was like, I didn't really understand what that means. Does that mean that wherever Tommy is, the tower, he is able to broadcast via radio? And he and Joel have obviously made an agreement that I can't just broadcast, hey mate, I'm in the shit. They will use this code of what sort of song gets played equals problems or equals everything's okay.
Yes.
Am I right?
Pretty much.
Have I kind of stumbled there? Okay.
That is how it comes across for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And
I
then
love the fact after
with Ellie, just quickly, with Ellie in that scene there, that is kind of, I think they use that scene just to kind of give you a bit of an insight into what Ellie's character is like. Okay. So she is very problem solving and at the same time a bit mischievous. So like she sees the book and it's like, I don't know, 60s all okay, 70s or things are a bit dodgy, 80s there's an X there. What does that mean? Don't worry about it. So she waits for him to fall asleep to then kind of trick him into, cracked it, okay. Very much how what Ellie's character is kind of like.
Alright, okay, so that's a good insight. Okay, alright, well that's interesting. Now,
you get that though, purely because, she was born into this kind of world.
Yeah,
so
that's what I was,
You have to have your wits about you.
You certainly, and she also alludes to the fact that she was in some sort of like Fedra school to become a Fedra soldier sort of thing.
Yeah. She was an orphan, wasn't she?
Yeah, so...
Do you know what the funny thing about that is? The Bella Ramsey, who plays Ellie's character, was actually born 4 days after where the episode starts on the 26th of September 2003.
Oh. Okay.
Wow.
Well, wait, again, stop it now.
So that always makes me laugh. Like, she was born in the apocalypse. No, literally was born in the timeline of the apocalypse.
Oh, man, I don't know how I'm feeling about that. Okay, we'll need to shake that off again. But the funny thing is the episode ends with the room that we knew was Joel's room and music plays.
Yep.
And a song plays. Now, this is the funny thing from my point of view, okay? when Ellie was in that room, she sang an 80s song that I think every person on the planet knows was an 80s song.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't recognise the song that was playing, so I have got no idea if that was 60s, 70s or 80s.
It was 80s.
Okay, thanks. I had no idea. I'd never heard that song before in my life.
It was Never Let Me Down Again, Depeche Mode.
Okay. No, not at all.
That is
no
what plays
idea.
at the end of the
Kayleigh, did
episode.
you recognise it?
Vaguely.
Oh, okay.
I think they could have been a bit more obvious with it.
Yeah. You wake me up before you go.
Yeah.
I'd have been like, yeah, there we go. I know what's going on.
I know where that was sung.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm guessing there's a lot of people screaming right now, like, you didn't recognise that? I'm sorry. I didn't know. And I listened to
Should
a
have
lot
got
of
some
it.
Bon Jovi on there. Everyone would have known.
Everyone would
Shut
have
through
known.
the heart!
No
And
chance.
you're like, oh, too soon.
Yeah,
Joel.
yeah. Oh, shit's going wrong. So that's kind of how the episode. I mean, for me, my key takeaway from whenever I'm watching anything is, am I interested to watch the next episode? And absolutely, I am. The other thing is like, am I thinking about it? Am I trying to come up with theories? Am I trying to work stuff out? And I am. Obviously, as this podcast proves, I'm sort of, what does this mean? What does that mean? What does this do? So I really enjoyed it. It is a kind of scary show, which, as anyone who listens to the podcast knows, isn't really my bag. But episode 1, I thought, was a brilliant world builder. I thought it did a great job. I really enjoyed it. Kayleigh, overall for the episode, or any other points that you wanted to discuss from it?
I enjoyed it. I didn't pick up my phone, and that's my gauge for anything
true.
I watch. Will I make it to the end?
Yes.
Remains to be seen. I will make the effort.
Yeah, you
Make
will.
everybody-
You will.
You know, I've watched 3 episodes of The Walking Dead. I don't do stuff like this.
No.
I switch off really quickly. However, I think the emotional attachments that I've already got with some of the characters will mean I want to see what happens and where it goes. So it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Good. And Stefan,
I am amazingly proud of both of you.
Okay, thank you.
You both got through it. Neither of you turned it off. I am very, very proud of you both.
Thank you very much.
And I cannot wait for the next few episodes, for the story to develop and everything else, because it's, like I say, it's the best computer game I've ever played. And I am really, really hopeful that this first episode is a great indication of how good the rest of the show is going to be. In which case, this has the potential to be like my favourite TV show. Like it could be that good.
Okay, well, don't build it up too much, dude. Don't build it up. You're crushing yourself otherwise.
So,
But okay, that is it. That is our show. I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who continues to listen. I want to say hello to everyone who's joining us for the first time. I know we'll probably get a few new listeners because this is a new show to us, a new show to many people. So there'll be people who watch the show and are then looking for additional content and find us. So hi. If you want to see what else we talk about, you can visit our website, which is all the W's stuffandthangspodcast.com. It's Thangs, THANGS. You can find us on all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. TikTok's fun. Currently our TikToks are Stefan looking like he's on an oil rig, freezing to death, talking.
I've been filming them at work, yeah.
It's amazing. Go and check it out. On the latest one, there's like a light flare that follows his beard, and you can see if you can line it up to the moment he realises and freaks out, wondering what the hell's on his face. It's perfect. It's amazing. But check that out. The content's good as well, but as a side note, that is an additional gain to the video. Is amazing.
Yeah, I don't know.
My daughter watched it like 10 times because she reckons she can pinpoint the moment you freak out, wondering what the hell's on your face.
I couldn't tell if it was something on my beard or something on the phone screen, so I very subtly moved the phone screen and go, oh, it moved with... Oh, it's not on my beard. That's good. Okay.
Yeah, she reckons she can pinpoint the moment where your eyes catch it and you have this kind of like, oh, no.
Is that breakfast in my beard again? Yeah.
yeah. Is that a Cheerio I haven't eaten? Saving it for later.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, so a massive thank you and welcome. We will be back next week to discuss episode 2 of The Last of Us. We don't have a set day yet, so keep an eye on the social medias and we will let you know when that's going to come out. If you're a fan of the Wednesday series, the Netflix smash hit, our season 1 review is out now. You can find that anywhere you can get your podcasts. Our YouTube channel also has it. You also have a show out there talking about The Witcher, The Blood Origin. So if you're a fan of The Witcher and you're looking forward to season 3, then give that show a listen, because we break down the kind of key events and we talk about what could possibly be relevant from that which goes into season 3. All that being said, we have a pretty packed slate coming up from Star Wars, Marvel, and all our usual suspects. It's going to be a fun 2023 for all of us. I'm really looking forward to it. Until next time, everybody, you all take care. Stefan, say goodbye to everybody.
I'll see you all later.
And Kayleigh, say goodbye to the lovely people.
Bye, lovely people.
That's it. We are out.
Billions of puppets with poisoned minds, permanently fixed on one unifying goal: to spread the infection to every last human alive by any means necessary. And there are no treatments for this, no preventatives, no cures. They don't exist. It's not even possible to make them.
So if that happens,
we lose.
Thank you for listening to the Stuff and Things podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can find us on Facebook or online. Simply search the Stuff and Things podcast to join in our conversation every week.